There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to class number 6, just our last, kind of a hodgepodge of everything as we head into these last couple of weeks. Lots to cover today. So I'm going to just start rolling. And forgive me, my voice is like very choppy, which is so funny since we're going to talk about COVID tonight. But yeah, so forgive me if I grab a couple sips of water in between. I haven't talked all day because I've been home by myself. So who knew that I had something going on with my voice? Anyway, the luggage size chart. If you are panic packing, this is scaring you right now to see that I'm suggesting the medium-sized luggage. And I need to tell you, I'm working behind the scenes on finishing up the packing list. Let me see if I've got it here. Hang on. Right here. So this is the printed copy that you're going to be getting. It's going to go on the class page, and I'll probably email it to you guys directly because I know I'm getting a lot of packing, those last minute packing questions. So I'm going to cover a little bit of that tonight, not a whole lot. And if you are one of my panic packers, because I always have a few, please do not worry, do not stress. I've been telling all of you as we've been doing our trip check-in appointments, and if you haven't scheduled one with me yet, I really encourage you to do it. If not, I'll be hunting you down. But I've been telling you, those appointments in the afternoon are for you. They're literally for you. So I don't want you thinking, oh, I just have so many questions or that sort of thing. That's one of the magic things of traveling as a group, is that you have someone to ask those questions to. It doesn't mean I'm going to have all the answers for you, but usually, especially with the group of almost 40, we've mentioned it several times. I mean, I've had it come up several times, and I'll cover some of those things with you even tonight. But if there's going to be people that are very, very savvy on packing, I was telling you, I did 6 weeks in Alaska last year in a carry-on bag, and it was literally like a domestic carry-on bag. It wasn't anything big, and I had camping equipment in there and everything. But I spend a lot of my year traveling, so I do it year after year after year. So the way I pack is going to be far different than how you pack if you go once or twice a year. So we're all at a different level there. Don't feel weird about that at all. And don't feel judged, because I've had travelers come to Europe with 2 of these great big large checked bags. Angie can tell you because she roomed with a couple of them. So I have seen it all over the years. There's nothing that would surprise me at all. So if you have specific luggage questions, just make one of those appointments, schedule a time with me, and we'll go over those specifics. I won't share it with anyone else. You're not being judged for it, really. Just however you're traveling, just talk to me about it and we'll figure it out. You can see the dimensions on the bottom of this screen. I don't know if you can see it because my little bar for Zoom is over it, but there are dimensions there. I get a lot of questions over the years about the height and the width and the depth of a suitcase versus the linear inches, depending on where you're traveling. So I put those on there because really the packing list that I'm doing is a universal packing list. It doesn't really change based on where you're going. So when you think of Alaska, all we're going to think of is layers. Everything else is pretty much on there, and it's all going to be the same as if we were going to Europe. So except for probably a pair of boots. So just so you know, keep that in the back of your mind, but you'll see this one again. Okay, I'm going to change my view if I can. Hi, Steffi. Nice to see you. I'm going to change my view here just so I'm not seeing everybody's faces. Okay. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I want to be able to get through this big list that I have for you. And you might see the cat jump up on the desk, just so you know, because I didn't get her out a minute ago. I'm taking it off my big screen. I don't know if they did an update to this or what the heck, but it's like, it looks different to me. All right, so I made a little note to cover everything with you. A couple of questions I want to answer right out of the gate. A bunch of us have been like, okay, when is the actual start of the cruise tour, the 12-day portion? If you're on the 7-day, a lot of this isn't even going to pertain to you that I'm going to talk about now. But with the 12-day, the itinerary shows, and I did talk to Stephanie about this, and she even ran it through the Princess people when she was on hold for 2 hours yesterday. The itinerary shows that our cruise tour begins on July 5. So there was some question about, well, we don't really get on the bus until the 6th, that sort of thing. The itinerary, the printed itinerary shows July 5. So that's the start of the cruise tour. So we're going to use that date when you're talking about getting your negative COVID test. And I'm going to remind you again that the COVID test things are antigen test is 2 days ahead and PCR test is 3 days ahead. That's on the top of the pre-trip class page, as well as, I know Princess is sending out a bunch of things, but I don't think you guys get quite as much as I do. But if there's any changes to their COVID anything, they're always going to send it to you. So go off the date of July 5. And remember, there is a chance, Stephanie was telling me, that they might not even check our negative COVID test. And get it in your mind, don't let that irritate you. They are doing this beginning cruise tour COVID test for our protection of being on the cruise. And I'm going to explain it to you more as we get talking tonight. But there is a chance they're not going to see it. I always hear travelers say, I had to get this negative COVID test and I checked into the airline and they didn't even look at it. Yep, there's a chance that that's going to happen, but we still have to follow the regulations that they're asking at that given time, but just keep it in the back of your mind that it's for our protection and making sure that there isn't a whole bunch of positive people coming on the test or coming on the tour. I'm going to remind you again, check that cruise tour answer booklet. If you're in the class tonight, I'm going to try to copy this link to send you in the chat box. But if you're watching by recording, you won't see it in the chat box because the chat doesn't record. So go to the trip class page and look for it. Remember, I also sent it to you in email as well. And the reason I bring this up to you is because there's so many things in this document. Hang on. And there's been a lot of questions about it. So if you were one with questions, do not feel like you're the only one. Here's what it looks like, this cruise tour best of land and sea. And they call it the answer booklet. But there's so many things in here about the cash, about your airline times, about prices for restaurant charges, for bags, a lot of questions on the baggage names, like the ones that say, carry this with me, don't carry this, meet me tonight, those kind of things. That really is only if you're bringing multiple bags. So if you've only got one bag and one carry-on, you're all set. You don't have to worry about that. But if you have questions, make an appointment with me. Let's go over those bag situations. But remember, I'm always going to tell you lighter, pack lighter is better. Somebody had asked me about Jeff King, the musher from the Iditarod, and his kennel, doing that kennel tour. That is the Husky Homestead tour up in Denali. Hang on, let me get this person in the door here. Here we go. So if you were the one that was asking about that tour, here it is in the chat box for the Shore Excursions group, okay? That is the one in Denali. And it would be a great, if they offer it on, I didn't even look to see if they offer it on the day that we're our free day, but that would be a great activity. As I keep rolling, grab a pencil and paper and write down any questions that you have, and I'll hit you up here towards the end. Upgrade notices are coming out now, and one came out today so far. I haven't been in email the last couple hours, but they're usually about 2 weeks before we go, they start to do the assessment. Like I just sent you the hotel confirmations. It's basically 2 weeks before they start saying, okay, we're going to take all of our hotel reservations and send them to the hotels. When they do that, they get the confirmations from the hotels and we get that. So I sent that out to you yesterday. Today, I started seeing the cabin upgrade notices. And what that means is Princess is taking a look at what everybody's, where you are cabin wise, and then they see, just like our airlines do, how much they want to sell, how many they have available to sell, and they send out cabin upgrade notices for, a couple $100. You can upgrade to whatever the next level is that they want to encourage you to upgrade to. So do not feel obligated to it. I usually always send them to you because usually they're pretty good prices when they do the upgrade notice, and they're only doing it if they have availability, but they also go quickly. So people know if they're big cruisers, they know that those upgrade notices are they're capacity controlled. So it's kind of like a speed game. If you want to upgrade for the lower price, then you got to really hop on it, because sometimes you'll go to hit the upgrade and they'll say no longer available. Okay. Flight change notifications. Are you guys getting them? Just chat in the chat box for me quick while I peek over and look. If you've got your flights booked with Princess, let me know if you're getting, okay, good. Thanks, Angie. Because a lot of times I love Princess. I'm very, very impressed with how they're doing such a large group and how on it they are. But I don't think they quite have it down yet on the notification thing, just like with excursions I'm going to talk about next. So forgive me if I ask that a lot, but I want to make sure, I don't want to pepper you with 900 emails, but I also want to make sure that you're seeing those, because with flights, I can't do anything for you on the flight side. And I don't know if you're getting those directly or not. So I'll always ask you on that. But if you do get a flight change notification, even if I'm getting a record of it, I don't usually go into every single one of them, because with 40 people on average, you're going to get anywhere from 10 to 12 flight change notifications times 40 people. And really it's times 50 people, because before before people dropped, I was still getting them. So I usually don't ever look at them. So I leave it to you. It's your flight. If you know that that incoming leg to Anchorage is changing, or your outgoing leg from Vancouver is changing, just throw me a quick email and let me know, because all I'm doing with your flight information for all of us is that incoming leg and that outgoing first leg, because I want to be able to, if I can't find you, if we're getting ready to go to dinner and I'm like, wow, Angie's not here yet, I'm looking up on a quickie spreadsheet that says her flight should have come in at 6:30. And if it didn't come in at 6:30 and I'm in a place where I can get on Wi-Fi and check it, I'm going to check and see, oh, okay, she's delayed. It's coming in 2 hours late. So that's all I'm doing with your flight information, is just making sure that I can find out where you are if I need to. Any flight changes and things like that, obviously you take care of yourself with Princess. Shore excursions notifications. This is something that I've noticed a couple of errors that we've caught, that a cancellation didn't go through or that sort of thing. But they're doing good. Overall, I can tell you with the volume of these, I mean, you picture each one of us is booking anywhere from 4 to 8 excursions. So with that volume times 40 people, there's a lot of email going back and forth. There's a lot of receipts and e-ticket confirmations and that sort of thing. Double check them. Okay, double check your Princess specifically, because those I don't have access to. Remember that if you book it on princess.com, I can't service it and I can't see it unless I log in as you. So it's not included in your booking confirmation that you get from me on your cruise booking. It's basically a third-party company that Princess is using. That's why that is. But we found a couple people that I believe it was Princess, they changed the tour that they had signed up for, but they didn't get a notification, and I don't get notifications on it either. So the only way we caught it is we were going through all of those, day by day itinerary things to match up prices for travel insurance, like we've been doing for everybody. So it was just a fluke. So I want to encourage you, you don't have to check it every week, but before you go, make sure that you go through those excursions that you have listed and that it is the one that you purchased. Because sometimes, like with this one, the name is super similar, the time was similar, the price was exactly the same. So it really was kind of the same tour, but it was literally a different booking number. So we'll sort it. If you see something like that and you catch it, just let me know and we'll make an appointment and we'll take a look at it close up. But change notices will be the order of the day for the next 2 weeks. Okay. Before I head into the COVID and Princess updates, let me just explain with me. This is kind of the busiest time. First of all, thank you guys so much for understanding, because you have been just such a joy to me. Every time I talk to you, you're like, I don't know how you do this. And I do it with a lot of coffee, but I also do it because you guys are so fantastic. I cannot tell you, I would just do these all day long if I could, because being able to set those appointment times and really focus on just what's going on with your booking makes me sane. It makes me so much better. And, we are hiring that full-time assistant I've been praying for forever, but they won't be here until we get back from Alaska. So you're going to have to take another trip with me to see the benefits of that. But we'll get there. It's just right now, keep in mind those couple of weeks leading up to a trip are usually the busiest time for me because everybody has those last minute questions. And it's okay to have the questions, just use those booking appointment times to be able to schedule time with me. Because if 40 people are texting me that quickie question, it can quickly get overwhelming for me. Okay. And not that you can't ever text me, that's fine too. Just keep in mind, whatever you're doing, times it by 40. COVID, let's talk about COVID. Let's talk about Princess. Let's talk about masks, which we did not think we would have to deal with again. Okay, so the biggest thing that you need to keep in mind is that COVID is on the rise in Alaska right now. Why is that? Well, because there isn't a whole lot of people that live in Alaska, and right now they are quadrupling their population with all of us coming up there because we are sick of COVID and ready to travel again. So primarily what they're seeing is on the land first side, which is the most popular way to travel. It's also more expensive, by the way. If you ever do land last and cruise first, you get a little price break because it's a lot more difficult to travel that way. We specifically picked this itinerary because it's go, go, go in the beginning, a little bit slower for us because we have the free day in there. But then the cruise is literally get on board and relax. So the land first itineraries like we're on are they're getting more tests positive for COVID. And part of that is because they have to test 2 days before they get on the cruise, right? So picture what our day's looking like right now. From now until 2 weeks from now, every person you come in contact with, I'm coming in contact with because we're going to be on this group trip together. So everything you do for the next 2 weeks is going to affect whether you test positive or not in your initial pre-trip COVID test. That Princess is asking us to do that because they're trying to lower the numbers in Alaska. They don't want people coming with COVID, right? So that's a new thing they're doing. Then everybody has to take that test 2 days before they get on the cruise ship. It isn't that the cruise ship is overcrowded. You're not allowed to tell this because they don't really tell people, but they're at like 65% occupancy right now, which actually is pretty standard. 65 to 75 is standard right now post-COVID because they have to hold out a quarantine deck. They hold out the cabins, which is good. We want that. Every ship does it the same way. They take you away to a COVID floor where you can have your time, in your cabin and be away from all of the healthy people and not make everybody else sick. It's what we want, trust me, but it brings the percentage down because they need to hold out space for that. So all of that being said, you're going to test at the end of our land time, our 5 days together, you're going to test for COVID to get on the cruise ship. What they're seeing is a heightened number of people testing positive. Why? Well, masks were not they were recommended, they weren't required. You've got people coming in there wasn't a pre-test for COVID coming on the cruise tour. So obviously, there's people right now in your pickleball group that have COVID. It's just where we are in that in-between time right now that they're trying to figure out the testing. And if they don't do pre-testing, people are coming with COVID. The symptoms aren't there. People don't even know they're sick. Stephanie was saying she's dealing with people that were so frustrated because they're testing positive, but they feel fine. If you test positive, you test positive. They won't take a risk, So all of that, when we're all coming from different points on that, is creating some frustration. So I just want to point out to you, the positive cases of COVID are real. They're real here in our own zip code, and they're real when people are going on vacation. And they're a lot more real when we're in close proximity to each other. And ironically, the cruise ship is not where we're in close proximity to each other, because there is ways that we can social distance there, right? We can stay away from the elevators that are really crowded. We can stay away from people that aren't wearing masks. But on our land portion, there's examples that we can't stay away from. The motor coach is the motor coach. We don't have any control over the other people on the motor coach. The train is a 9-hour train ride. The school bus, the Denali tour that we're going to be taking, all of the people that are coming from all over, wherever they're coming from, like we are, that are on all the airplanes that aren't requiring masks. So we're bringing up our contact with other people in those first 5 days. Now, this is from Jen. I would highly recommend to you, no matter where you stand on the mask front, because I know we stand very differently on that. I am going to try, I don't know about the weeks before I go, but I'm going to try very much to double mask, or at least mask, in that whole 5 days that we're together on that land, because I want to go on the cruise. I do not want to get through 5 days in Alaska, test positive for COVID because I've been within 3 days of someone who has it, and then I can't go on my cruise. So I would recommend that you plan ahead for those situations. And in the time that we're going to be the most exposed, we make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. The other thing is to be ready, to be flexible. Expect some things, not only COVID related, but expect some things to go wrong. They're not doing daily housekeeping up in Denali. Their staffing is okay at the lodge we're going to. One of the ones way down, they ended up having to close the land tours that went to some other lodge because they didn't have enough staff. So, expect some things to be a little off. We're still in that first COVID year, but be pleasantly surprised when they're not. And we'll bring grace and patience, like I've been telling you all along. The numbers of people that are having an amazing time in Alaska far, far supersede the 0.2% of people that are getting COVID positive on any kind of a trip, not just the cruises, but it's at like a 0.2%. So when you hear it, or when you think about the numbers, think about what we went through with the media before this. Those are all, yep, it's happening, but keep it in perspective for the volume of people. I think, hi, want to say hi to everybody? I think the number of people on our ship is like 3,500. That's capacity, 3,500 people or something like that. So when you talk about 0.02% or something, it's low. The numbers are low. But again, if you test positive before you get on the cruise ship, that's, that number's not included. Know that it's going to affect you one way or the other. With a group our size, somebody could very well be affected directly by a positive COVID test at one of those times that we do the check. The other thing is, it could be if we're all going to be affected with like this mask mandate. They're just coming out with this. I haven't seen an email come through on it yet, but they're saying that they're now requiring and not recommending. All of those changes that take place in the next 2 weeks are happening based on real numbers. So they make the call, and if we're going on the trip, which we are, then we just comply with whatever it is. And we've been on so many cruises, me personally, in the last like 6 or 8 months post-COVID. And when they say required for masks, half the people aren't wearing them because they don't want to wear them. And I get it, but then we are in the situation we're in right now. So it's just something that you've got to talk through together and decide that you're either going to protect yourself to make sure that we're going on that cruise, or you don't want to deal with it and you're just going to wing it, But I encourage you as your trip leader to think ahead and be prepared for any of those different scenarios. And the bonus is we are together. You're not traveling solo. In whether there's, a COVID positive test, God bless you, sneeze. No matter what, no matter what's going on, we are together, and we'll just make sure we get through it together. Speaking of, I wanted to show you these. I've talked to a lot of you about this. This is that eMed test that this one is from the Carnival Corporation. I had given you guys a link for it. I think I have it here. Yep, let me put it in the chat box. But this is the Optum test that they're recommending. And I kind of went a little overboard and got a lot of them. Here's your link for it. But I got a lot of them because they hadn't removed the end mandate yet. So we were still at the 3 COVID test requirement. And I've got my mother and father-in-law and my family. So I wanted to make sure I had enough for everybody. So if they do change the mandates again, we could pretty much wallpaper the bathroom of our cabin with all of the COVID tests that I'm going to have. But if we need them and we aren't using them, we'll certainly have a couple extra. But I'm recommending to you that as part of the plan ahead thing, that you bring one for each of your travelers, because that way, remember, you are not at the mercy of if you're on board and you need to be tested or any of those things. Yes, Princess is handling our COVID test in Denali. But again, with all of the changes, I would feel more comfortable if I had that test in my possession that I'm able to do. So that's what I'm doing. Let me tell you how they're handling it when you do test positive on the ship or on the trip. So first of all, this I just came across in all the 800 pieces of literature. If you have had COVID in the last 90 days, I encourage you to research about the recovery letter. I've heard mixed things about this, but if you've had COVID in the last 90 days before your actual trip start date, Princess has a policy on that recovery letter that comes from your doctor. And I think it affects that you don't have to get tests or something. And I'm not familiar with it, but I do know that the recovery letter is in their paperwork. So if you happen to get COVID or you've had COVID in the last 90 days, make sure to look into that, because that may be a real stress reliever that you don't have to deal with that. Remember that we're in that in-between phase where now the US government is saying we don't have to test to get back into the United States, but we do have to test to get on our cruise ship, which is blowing my mind. I mean, I just think the whole thing is, we're in a whole new set of problems than we've been in for the last 2 years. And the reason I'm saying that to you is because with our cruise, we start in the United States, but we finish in Canada. So in Canada, they have different laws than we do. So it's going to affect us depending on where somebody would test positive. So just keep that in between phase until everybody can line up perfectly. We usually see this in Europe all the time, but not in the United States. So if you test positive on the land portion of the tour, if it's before, like at the entrance, obviously you're not going to be allowed on the cruise tour. So I'm encouraging you to test at home before you get on the flight. So CVS, Walgreens, whatever you need to do, basing off of that July 5 start day, even if you're coming in early, base off the July 5 start day, and get your COVID test, your negative COVID test. But the reason I'm recommending you to get it before you fly is because if you did test positive, then you aren't going to go through the hassle of now you've flown and you've got to go, back through the whole thing. You'd know before you go. Okay. If you test positive on the land portion of the trip, most likely they will be transporting you in a separate motor coach back down to Anchorage, and they have like a quarantine hotel. Every city has this, every tour, everything. It's very, very common. Where they have a contracted hotel that they use for quarantine time. The United States is 5 days right now is the quarantine time, and other passengers that are with you in your cabin continue on if they test negative. Your choice now. So I want to encourage you to check, and I'm going to say this a couple times tonight as we go through this class, check with your travel insurance. You've heard me say it over and over, because you want to make sure before you make any decisions about something that's happening with your tour or canceling your tour, that you are verifying with your travel insurance company what is a covered reason before you decide that. Because like I was telling some of you in our appointments, if it says it covers flight delays. Okay, well, it covers covered reasons for flight delays. That the airline attendants didn't show up might not be a covered reason, but weather might be a covered reason. So it matters what those covered reasons are. Okay. So just know if it's on the land portion, that's basically what they're doing, is that you go onto that quarantine hotel. If you test positive on board on the cruise ship, they have on board the whole medical facility. They have their COVID floors, which means you'd most likely have to move your cabin, just so you know, move to that COVID quarantine floor. And a lot from there depends on hotel availability and when you test positive. So, you know, there's different cases. The Canadian quarantine is 10 days. So just so you know, what they're doing is when you come off the ship, if you tested positive, they're busing people to Seattle. So, and I make it sound like they're filling buses and that sort of thing. They're not. But the people that test positive, they're not going to say, here you go, Canada. You know what I mean? So they will come on board, talk to you about those options. Don't feel like you're like hung out to dry. Plus, I'm there the whole time. So I said, Stephanie, you be on standby, which she is anyway for the whole trip. So we just cross that bridge when we get to it. And we all have Wi-Fi, so we'll all be in contact with what's going on and what needs to be done. Remember, they don't test for COVID on board unless you have an issue and you want testing. So for a lot of us, that's not even going to be an issue. And then once you come off the ship, it doesn't matter if you feel good, you don't feel good, you whatever, if they don't require testing to come back into the United States. So again, this is where we're in that in between part. I'm gonna talk about this now. Arrive Can, I sent on the group chat today a picture of this Arrive Can app. You're going to hear over and over and over about this on board the cruise ship because it's a requirement for Canada when the ship pulls into Vancouver. So it's just an app that makes it streamlined and easy for Princess to get all that information from all of us. But it's just basically like the health documentation. If you've traveled outside the country anywhere, you've had to do the health documentation to say, you know, I haven't had COVID or I'm good or that sort of thing. It's that little app they want done. And what I'm told is that I think it would be easier for my people to get the app before we leave home, but they're saying right when we board in Whittier, just pop on there, do what you need to do. You'll hear all throughout the cruise them saying, make sure that you turn this, you know, you've done it and you've let us know. But a lot of times you can hop on the phone in the cabin and just say, hey, I got this done. They check your name off and then you don't get the reminders anymore. So just a little health questionnaire. And as I get time to go through it all, I'll give you more information on our group text through that. So we talked about the recommendation of testing before you fly. Bring at least one medically observed test kit with you if you can, just in case you need it. I recommend that you order it pretty soon because it came in like less than a week, but we're 2 weeks out. So, right, 2 weeks out about. So yeah, I think it would be good to go ahead and order that. Just a reminder that the government test kits or anything that is not medically observed is not applicable for giving to someone. You can certainly bring those. I've heard some people bringing them just for their own peace of mind when they're on board if they wanted to see if they were testing positive for COVID, but you know, you can't use that as your one that you turn in. It's also on the top of the trip class page. Remember that the eMed test, this one, thank you, Bruce, for finding this for me, is an antigen test. It says right here on the back, a rapid test for the qualitative detection of COVID-19 antigens in nasal swab specimen. Okay, so, and the contents is one, in some kits, I know they have two, but in the ones that I'm sending you the link for from Carnival Corporation, that's who owns Princess and Holland and Carnival. That's just happens to be this test. Masks are, as far as we know, they are a requirement. We'll touch base with you again as we get closer to that. Know in the back of your mind, if anybody tests positive on the land portion, we won't be getting on the cruise. That person won't be getting on the cruise. Travel insurance. Let me cover this 1,000 times. Travel insurance is important on every single trip you go on. Ask me why that is. But now it's equally as important. It's not more important. It is equally as important. So with travel insurance, it covers you for reimbursement of expenses is one side of it. And the other side of it is medical. So those are the two sides of travel insurance. And I cannot encourage you enough. If you've had your appointment with me, I've probably already told you this multiple times, but download your policy. If you purchased it through me, you have it uploaded on your My Trips account right now under documents. It's like 46 pages long, depending on the policy that you got. Download it. You don't need to print it, but download it and review it. Know the covered reasons of your plan. Know what's not covered. Usually with 46 pages, people have a lot of questions. The only thing I'm authorized to do is lead you to the best policies to buy. I am not a licensed insurance agent. And every one of us has different scenarios. The sick mom, I've had cancer, my mother's not well, there's a chance that something might happen. All of those things that are going on mean a phone call to your insurance company. They are so good, you guys, that you can give them all the scenarios all day long, and they're very good at explaining to you what it means and what your policy covers. So be sure to call in and give them the policy number if you have any questions. And remember that that 800 number is on the very front of your policy document. And the covered reasons are all listed in there as well. In the event of an emergency at any time, before, during, after, anything, in the event of an emergency, your first call should be to the travel insurance number, the emergency number, because they are the ones that will tell you this is what you need to do in order to file a claim, and time matters. Hear me on this. When, I've had people that have been on a tour and they popped off the tour and went, oh, I'll call them on Monday. Nope. If you are on the tour, that travel insurance is protecting you. The first phone call you make is to their claims department to find out what you need to do. Okay. But always easier if you ask in advance on, again, any trip, ask in advance and know what you paid for your policy. And then your second call is to me, and whatever I can help you with, I certainly will. On the cruise, I want to encourage you to opt to take the stairs if that's possible, or wait for an uncrowded elevator. It's just any chance we have not to be belly to belly with other people, I think we ought to take it. And on board, really all of my cruise passengers that are going out, and myself included, I'm not usually a big cruise person. I'm loving that the ships are not at full capacity. I will cruise forever as if they don't pack all the people on board. So again, that's not really the issue. We have lots of space on board, but if we can avoid those situations, it would always be good to. A reminder about cash tips. All the land tips are not included. So a couple $100 maybe in small bills. I always recommend small bills because remember, a lot of places do not have cash, so they won't be able to make change for you. Try to go with those small bills if you can. And did I put this reminder on here? Yeah, I'll tell you about that, my reminder for that in a minute. Couple random things to cover. Limited housekeeping in Denali right now. I'll text this to you later so you have it on the group chat. But one of the tips was to text the 6,000 is, I guess, the number in Denali, that they take care of everything right there. Remember, it's a huge property. So depending on where you are, if you needed anything, being able to text from your room phone or your phone would be great to get whatever you need handled. Glacier Bay, just a little tip for you. It's when we're at sea, Glacier Bay, a lot of people are like, I would love to stay in my cabin because I got this balcony cabin. You're on the perfect side. We're on the port side. That's why it paid off for us to book so early. But a lot of people say, I want to stay in my cabin for this, which is awesome. And there'll be lots of opportunities for that. But Glacier Bay specifically, they do a narration. And the best place to see and hear the narration of what they're covering is on deck. Some cabins are going to be close enough to it that you can actually hear it, but there's no guarantee. So if you don't want to miss it, then you can always pull it up on your television as well. But there's been some sailings that it either wasn't recorded or, whatever. So best bet, just the little tip before we go, is when you think about Glacier Bay at Sea Day, let's try to make it up to the top deck to be able to hear the narration of that. It'll be worth it. And dress warm, because the closer we are to the glaciers, the colder it's going to be. And again, we're all going to have Wi-Fi on board, so I should be able to text you even right through the app, I'm hoping. Couple other things, another reminder to you about drinks. Princess Plus is the package that we have included with our cruise tour. And in that drink package, I just want to give you a reminder about the fine print. The fine print is the drinks up to $12 are included in that drink package. Anything over that, like if you're a premium alcohol drinker, let's say it's $16 for I don't even know what a premium drink would be, but $16. That $4 is going to go on your onboard, your what do you call it? I don't know what you call onboard account, or wherever they have your credit card linked to you specifically in your cabin. So don't be surprised if you were like pounding it with a bunch of friends and you see these little $4 and $6 charges coming on. That's what's happening. So just be mindful. The drinks include all those, coffee. You can look it right up. What does Princess Plus include? We got it grandfathered in. I know a lot of you had asked, what does DND mean? And they verified it's the code for those of us that got grandfathered in at the basically the cheaper price, because they charge more for that package now. But it covers you with your all different drinks, coffees, whatever, but review what those are if you're a big drinker, and be prepared for that, just so you know what it is. The other thing is, keep in mind that bottled water is not part of the drink package. So a lot of people are like, oh, I can totally go get as many as I want. You can, but you're going to pay for them. So make sure that if you are a big water drinker, I think what we're going to do, and I mentioned this in another class, is we're just going to, it's not very expensive to have a case or two delivered to your room. We're just going to get it delivered to our room so we don't have to worry about it. But on your packing list, I'm going to give you is also a water bottle, because you can go up to the buffet 900 times a day and fill your water, which is what I do every single day. So you don't need to get bottled water. But if they do have bottles of water in your room, you're going to pay a pretty penny for those. So it's good to just plan ahead for that. And one other little tip I have for you on the random stuff is the afternoon tea takes place usually on sea days from 3 to 4. This is a formal tea, like an English tea. And I absolutely love these. It's totally worth going, just because it's a formal tea if you haven't had occasion to go to one. It might not be announced in what they call the Princess Patter, that little thing they're going to give you each day of the day's activities. And I'll try to remind you through the app on the days that that's going on. But normally they have that on board on sea days. So even if we don't see it on the itinerary, it's in the formal dining room for that hour, and it would be worth going to. So just keep it in mind when we're at sea. Remember, we also have a private room for us from 1 to 3 o'clock on the sea days. So if somebody wants to bring like a board game or, just something that it has a table in it. So, I mean, if anybody wants to bring something that the group can do, I'll publish what the hours are and where it is, but just know we have that room just for our use. And sometimes they have a big TV in there. So I was going to find out what's in there and bring maybe some DVDs or something. Not that we're going to be holed up watching movies, but just in case. Okay, couple of quick questions. Are you getting the group text announcements? Let me go back to chat here. And I'll go back through these questions here so we can see. Are you getting did you get a group text from me today, guys? Chat in and tell me. Okay, from the group me thing. Angie, you might have gotten it because you were on another trip. Did everybody else get one? Okay, good. Steffi got it too. Good. And we'll practice a little bit, just because this really is the way that I can get in touch with you guys. So I'm going to send a little testing message to you now. 1, 2, 3. And just chat in and tell me if you got it. Just making sure that I can reach you guys when I need to. Good. Yeah, Diane, the McGinnis's said the same thing. And you know what that is? You know how I love to do little hearts and little, fun faces and everything. The group me doesn't like that. So I got spanked on that today. It's okay. They just want the dull, boring ones like Tom sends during the day. I'm just kidding. Okay, so we'll keep working on that. And of course, when we get on board, we'll test the app to make sure that we can all communicate back and forth with that. Expect it to be hotter in Denali than you're thinking. They're getting some record temperatures up there, not record as far as seasonal, but an unusually high temperature here and there. So I was telling Steffi, I think in the cruise tour answer booklet, when we look up July, the coastal Alaska, which is going to be more Anchorage, Whittier, is 58 to the low is around 58 and the high is around 66. Interior Alaska, which is where Denali is a low of 61, just a couple of degrees difference, and a high of 90. So a very big difference in the daytime temperatures, which is weird. We were saying it's in the north. You'd think it would be less, but a lot of that has to do with their elevations. It has to do with the more of the tundra plain thing going on. You'll see when we get there, but just expect it to be hotter. So again, my favorite is the zip off pants, but shorts or something. So you're just not, dying of heat when you're up there. But the next thing I have to tell you is the mosquitoes are also, that is the state bird for Alaska, in case you didn't know that. So the mosquitoes just plan on, they chow on me. So I will probably have pants on the whole entire time. And I am definitely bringing bug spray. Remember, every single product that we're going to buy in Alaska has to be flown in, right? So there's going to be a surcharge. Everything's a little more expensive up there. So if you can bring it, pack it. But don't overpack, just if you can bring it, pack it. And certainly we can probably share if we need to. Back to that cruise tour answer booklet, make sure that you're reading that. You'll hear a lot of the questions you're asking. I'll refer you back to that. I texted a few of you, even my daughter, and said, you need to get Green Lane ready. So hop on the Medallion Class app if you haven't done it already. If it's holding you up, it's usually because of one little simple thing, like you got to take your security photo or, upload a document or whatever. So get Green Lane ready. It's going to save you so much time, and you don't want to be the one person coming off the train that the whole group is Green Lane ready and gets bing, 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 just, QR coded right in. And then you have to stand there because you didn't do a document or something. So I'm going to hound you a little bit because we have fun. We need to be having fun. We can't be doing the paperwork thing. ArriveCan app, I talked about that. Download it. You'll need it once you're on board. Any more excursions? Just a reminder to you that I know there's a couple that are doing some last minute excursion thing, totally normal. But when you make those purchases, remember that the travel insurance, make sure it's up to date with that new trip cost, because I won't even know as we get really now close. I'm traveling a week ahead of you guys. Stay on me to be able to get together and make sure that your travel insurance costs are where they need to be. And remember that all the changes or adjustments with your travel insurance have to be done 2 days prior to travel, because of the day, whatever day you purchase it, your upgrade is the day that you, the next day is when it's active. And I said, if not, just schedule an appointment and we'll take care of it. Update me about flight changes, told you about the admin assistant coming on board. And how that affects you guys is a lot of times I'm saying to you guys, this first big trip out of the gate, to upload your own documents on through my trips, add your loyalty numbers, that sort of thing, just so they're in your profile with me. Normally we have an assistant that handles all that for us. And lastly, a few tips that I have for you while you're on board, some fun ones. And I know you're going to say, can you write these up for me? Well, in a perfect world, I probably could. So I don't know if I can, but I want to make sure that I tell you at least first, and you're getting a packing list. So I'm at least doing that. Some tips while you're on board. The best tip that I can give you is to tip your cabin attendant on day one. As soon as you get there, slip him a little 10, slip him a little 20 if you want, whatever you think, but tip him well and tip him on the first day. I don't know what the magic is to this, but they treat you like royalty because you made that your first thing that you're doing on board. I put down, treat them like a person. Please don't be rude or treat them servant-like. We do have clients that do that just because they're used to getting things the way they want, which we totally understand. But remember that they are servant-like to a large number of people. And on the first day, the last day, I want ice at night, that's me. Those things are hard to do unless we give them plenty of notice for that. So I like to say I bring Post-it notes and a marker and a highlighter for the princess patter so I can highlight when I want to go to the line dancing lessons. But you can put on a little Post-it note, please leave ice, something like that right on your mirror. And it makes it nice and easy for them because they can leave your pen out. They can write cabin number such and such and go run and do it while we're out playing. Ask about their family. They haven't seen them in months and months and months. And in some cases right now, it's years, because if they were stuck on board a ship. So we aren't even thinking about that part, but ask them about their families. They really miss them terribly. And then ask if they need anything personal. If you're that person, it's so fun to be able to just bless them with something from your port visit. So some of them are not allowed to disembark during the cruise. They either have a scheduled port that they can sneak off. You'll see them sneak out another door. But a lot of times depending on what's going on in staffing, they might not be able to disembark at all. So if you were just to say, hey, do you need anything, any personal items I can get for you? I can guarantee you the first thing they'll go is, no, we're good. But if you keep at them and you keep smiling and you ask them again or a second time, or you suggest something, you'll see them kind of like, because they would love it. They live in a shoebox like this big with 4 other people, and they usually don't ever get candy or treats or anything that they don't buy themselves. So if you even brought it from home, just know that they will appreciate it so much. And even the thought that you even thought about it is just such a great thing. So think consumable treats from either the port visit or even from home, and they'll love it. So sometimes you'll probably have to leave a note because they won't touch it unless they know it's for them, I can't even tell you. I need to write a book on the stories of our cabin attendants and how they made us cry telling their stories over this last year. It's just been amazing. Room service, little tip for you. If you're not a room service person, that you're like, I don't want to pay extra for that, I have great news. Room service breaks into 2 categories, and the continental service is usually complimentary on a cruise. You don't pay for that. You don't even pay a service charge for it usually. Of course, a couple dollar tips would be nice if you can swing it, but the continental service, so that would be like the Danishes and the yogurt and the fruit, and the coffee. So there's going to be a couple of days that when we're at sea or we're in Glacier Bay or whatever, the night before, put your little slip out that says, I want continental breakfast. And if you're a big coffee drinker, put double coffee down. Remember, it's complimentary. They'll send it in a little carafe so it'll stay warm. Ours didn't stay that warm, but it'll stay warmer than if you just got it in a cup. But it's just a great service. And those of you that are in a balcony, that's what you've got the balcony for. So I encourage you to use that room service. It's nice to have it that morning if you plan ahead. So, and feel free to order double. Thinking about next year's cruise or another cruise. This is a benefit on pretty much every cruise, but people don't think about it before they go. The loyalty desk on board does like a future cruise desk or whatever. And people are thinking, oh, it's just an upsell. Yeah, it's totally an upsell, just like the photos and just like the drink package and just like everything else that's on board a cruise ship. But the cool thing about this is if you know that you're going to be doing another trip with Princess, and remember, we gave you that destinations guide, you can see all of them all over the place. If you book that deposit while you're on board a cruise, and this isn't just a Princess thing, this is pretty much all of them do this, they always throw in some big nice perk for you to do that. First of all, it's usually refundable depending on the program that you're doing it with. And it usually involves onboard credit, and it's usually around $100. So it's way worth it. You have like most cruise lines will give you like 2 years to use it. So it's just way worth it if you're thinking about going on another tour at some point. And remember, if you're talking about going on another one of Jen's journeys, talk to me about which one that is, because some of you are talking to me right now about, oh, I would love to do the Panama Canal. I would love to do Greece. And I book those trips for next year and for 2024. I'm booking them right now based on what you're telling me. So if you have an interest in that, please make sure you email me and talk to me about it, because I can hear right away which ones rise to the top and which ones are like that random one that no one's going to go with you, you know? But the loyalty desk is worth it. The one thing that I ask you is that since it is an upsell feature of the cruise line, they will not give that booking to me. So you have to say, I am on board with Jen Henriksen and I want this under her. Otherwise, I can't service it, I can't see it, and I don't get any credit anyway. So it just blesses me, and it blesses you too, because remember, you don't pay any extra and you get all of our services for free, even if you're doing your own cruise. So it's well worth it to put it under our agency's name. And again, any questions on that, just text me and they can see that you're with me on this booking. So they can get all the information they need. Dramamine, friendly reminder. Remember that we do have a few days that we're out at the open sea and the weather makes it a little rocky. We've got good locations for all of our cabins, so we got them nice and early. But if you tend to get a little funny with the rock and roll, I really recommend Dramamine. And because you are not going to want to be sleeping through it, I recommend the less drowsy Dramamine. I have a lot of familiarity with that. But it still is pretty potent, but you aren't like sleeping through the glaciers going by and all the cool stuff. I have a huge map that I'll show you on one of our days that we're together that shows exactly where the whale watching is, following the latitude, longitude, GPS positioning of where our ship is. I'm so excited. But all of that is for you, and that's all on board. So when we know we're coming up to where the whales, all of the krill come in and there's like a feeding frenzy going on and there'll be a lot more whales coming for that, I'll make sure you know well in advance when that is, as I'm sure Princess will too, but we have the inside scoop. So we'll make sure that we do it. Whale in advance. Absolutely. I told you about pre-order your cases of water before you get on board. You can do that on princess.com. A couple of you, I was telling you about, Barb got it's called the Thermal Day Pass, Thermal Spa Day Pass. Thank you, Barb, for telling me about this. It's $149 for the entire cruise. And if you look up the ship and you look up the Lotus Spa and look up Thermal Spa Day Pass, you can do it right on princess.com under the spa. It's $149 for this pass for you to go whenever you want. And I cannot tell you enough. They only sell a certain number of them because they don't want all these people getting in there and you can't use anything. So they limit the capacity and it'll show sold out if they hit it. But you can go, like, I love to go at the beginning of the day after a workout, or go at the end of the day right before I go to bed, and they have these big stone beds and I'm not sure if they have the hydrotherapy pool. Barb, chat in if they do, but they've got the Turkish bath, which basically is like a dry sauna and a wet sauna. And then they have the dry steam room and the wet steam room. So you get to like go between all those little things and, play spa basically. So well worth it. If you're not looking to do a specific treatment, it's just a really fun pass to have. And it'll probably sell out. So if you're interested, I would pre-order that. Remember, anything that you book on board will be more expensive than it will be right now. They always discount things before we get on board. So do those last few minutes. You can see the cat. Stop it. Last tip I have for you is to bring, if you can fit it, if you can't, don't worry about it, but like a plastic wine glass or a lidded drink cup. For us, we're really big on the coffee cups with lids, because we like to carry that with us. So remember that you can bring alcohol, drinks, and water on board. Or I should say alcohol, drinks, or water on board. Just read your cruise contract and it will tell you how much you can bring. But usually it's 2 bottles. Don't quote me on this, but usually it's 2 bottles per stateroom. But they aren't like the Costco bottles. You know what I'm saying? They are a certain milliliter. They're very strict on it. You can't bring a box, although I would probably love that. You can't. You can't bring liquor. They don't allow liquor. But you can bring, like, if you're a big soda drinker, you can bring like whatever it is, a 12 pack or whatever, or a case of bottled water. So since we're flying out there, it might just be easier to get the bottled water in your room. But if you want to stop, you'll have the opportunity when we're in Anchorage to stop at a convenience store or whatever and buy something. So if you want to, you certainly can. And just know that you have your drink package anyway. So, okay, so I hit all of my biggies. Let me go back through the text and then we can hop on, unmute yourselves too if I didn't nail all the questions, okay? Let's see. Let's see. Okay, Beth said she didn't see a change until she logged into the Princess website, didn't get an email notification, so she stumbled across it. That's a great tip. So we know to log into the Princess website. The insurance document comes to you, Barb. She's asking when I received the insurance document. As soon as you purchase it, an email comes directly to you and you click on the link in the email and it'll open that big policy for you. As a service, we just do the same thing because we get a copy of it. So as soon as we get that email, we go on, click on it, download it, and immediately within the next day or two, I'll upload it to your travel documents because it really is an important document for all of us. I have the same one you do. So just makes it easy. AJ, I love this. He said, keynote, drink cheap. So if you're a beer drinker, you'll be very happy to know that the drinks are usually between 8 and 9, $10. They're not super expensive. So keep that in mind for sure. Yes, but drink cheap for sure. The tea, yeah, Barb's saying the tea is really nice. If you're not really doing the big buy all the specialty dining things, it's sort of like a chance to do kind of a specialty dining, so it's a nice one. Let's see. A couple people downloaded the Canada app. A couple people got a few texts from the group me, and that's okay. I promise not to send any nice, cute little messages. I'll just send boring ones from now on so everybody gets it. Okay, Barb, you said you didn't get it. I got to check your cell phone number to make sure I have the right one. Same thing for you, Joan. Let's check and see. Cheryl mentioned my favorite Alaska words, layers. Will there be a drugstore near the Captain Cook? And, I can't remember which one of you I was telling this about, but I have a map. Okay, this is one of Jen's travel journeys things that was like my dream thing to do for every trip. Angie will remember this from years ago. Every time I go to a location, I set up a Google map and I literally tag every single place that I'm going all around town, my favorite breakfast place, how you get here, parking, all that kind of thing, with the goal that I was going to have all these maps for all my clients and I'd be able to just go bing and send them to everybody. Yeah, except I got busy with something else. So now I have all these maps and no one has them. So I told one of you guys when we were on our call this week that I'm going to send you my Google map because I know it's a short time, but even when you're walking around in Anchorage, you'll love it because it'll tell you kind of where everything is. And Barb, I don't think I put on there where there's a drugstore, but you'll love Captain Cook. It is like the only, and watch my fingers here, the only luxury hotel in Anchorage. I just want to remind you that Anchorage is remote, even Anchorage. So they're defined luxury very loosely. Okay, but it is a very nice hotel. And if you go to the desk, they can certainly let you know where the nearest drugstore is. Steffi says recommended bug spray brand. Wow. So if you ask me, who is the total complete bug magnet, Tom's already going. You've just opened a can of worms here, Steffi. It's right here, honey. It's right here, I think, over by your desk. In our household, we disagree on bug sprays. So I prefer the full cancer-causing deep woods off because that's the only thing that makes those little bugs not bite me. And my husband is so graciously showing you the one that he recommends.
And then they have this with DEET also, Sawyer.
Yeah, Sawyer brand. And then how much is where did you get this, Mr. Henriksen?
I ordered it online.
He ordered it online, probably from Amazon.
It was recommended by somebody who is a Boy Scout.
Oh, it was recommended by a Boy Scout.
It's made here in Florida.
It's made here in Florida. Okay. So it's Sawyer insect repellent. And it's funny because when we backpack, we have these, you know, like big challenges where he's like, I'm going to cover all your clothes in this, so you don't have to use the deep, you know, that sort of thing. But I don't trust anything personally because I really do get bit so bad. But so yes, recommended bug spray brand. I have no idea, Steffi. It really just depends on depends on how much you get bit, I think. Yay, Barb said Panama Canal. That's a big one for me too. And the whale feeding frenzy, it does sound so cool. My only issue, Cheryl, is I'm hoping that we don't go through that part at night, because I will be getting up if we go through there at night, because I am going to see that little feeding frenzy. Yeah, Cheryl says Princess has the best spas, so relaxing. Okay, good. So Dick was asking about a packing list, including captain dinner attire. So on board, remember there's 5 smart casual nights and 2 formal nights. And keep in mind that there's a lot of flexibility here because we're on what's called a soft adventure tour, which means a lot of active going, you know, hiking or, you know, going out in the Denali Park kind of thing. So don't feel tuxedo and ball gown is a requirement, because it's not. What I recommend and what I usually go with is like a black skirt with the same black shoes. And I'm always, you'll see on the packing list, I'm going to send you that I don't pack anything that isn't worn at least twice. So I recommend bringing things you can mix and match. No one will know. I promise you, we will not know if you have the same skirt or the same pants on that you did at dinner the other night. And if we did know, we're not going to tell anybody. So pack light, try to mix and match. And know that they are going to do those 2 formal nights, but your options are dress more, and it is smart casual. They won't let you come into the dining room in a t-shirt. It has to be a button-down shirt. But maybe guys, if you like wearing a sport coat or a jacket, maybe bring a jacket, you know, as long as you can wear it more than once. I'm totally okay with that. Is there drinkable water we can fill from the water bottle we bring with us? Absolutely. So depending on where we are when we're taking the motor coach up to Denali, I'm pretty sure they stop in Talkeetna at the Talkeetna Lodge, which is amazing. Highly recommend you go in and see this. Like, I don't even know how big the bear is, but it's freaking huge. But well worth going in there, and they've got water fountains in there where the restrooms are. And then all throughout the property when we get up to Denali as well. But I definitely recommend bringing a refillable water bottle. It just makes things easier. And the cruise ship water is potable water. It'll always say if it's not potable water, like in the restrooms, sometimes it's not. But yeah, Tom says he drinks it anyway. So, and he's still here. So who knows? I don't know if that's a good thing or not. He's got this funny, no, I'm just kidding. Can I bring lotion larger than 3 ounces in a checked bag? You can. Yep. So remember, it's only to do with what your flight is going out there, but you can do all of that in a checked bag, no problem. Just watch whatever those lithium battery requirements are if you're doing cameras and stuff. Recommendations for specialty dining. Depends on if you what you're in the mood for. The French one gets really, really good reviews. I think it's called the Crown Grill or something. That's where we chose to make our big anniversary celebration for Phyllis and Jean for our family of 13. But the specialty dining, you cannot go wrong with, honestly. There is a reason they have an upcharge for those restaurants. And if they don't fly, they know far before we do. So they don't stay on board very long. So I think any one that you pick would be really a great one. And I do recommend, guys, that as soon as you get on board, a lot of you will see when you're messing around on the app, it'll say this won't open until closer to your cruise. When you get on board, sit down and get your specialty dining booked. You know, get it booked right away, because I think it's a lot easier to do that. And you will forget, and then you'll get frustrated because things will start to fill up a little bit more. Barb, you asked, can we pack this in checked bags? I'm not sure what that means, so you tell me. Yep, Steffi, it was Sawyer. Ooh, it's on Amazon, she said, for $7.99 for the Sawyer's Fisherman formula. Is that what that is?
I was asking about about this. Can we pack that?
Oh yeah, yep, you sure can. And I'm packing like an aerosol can of. Are we allowed to pack an aerosol can on the plane? Yeah. So I usually bring them to Bahamas all the time.
in
Yeah.
another bag.
Always bag anything that you're putting in, that has a potential to, pop with the air changes, always put it in a gallon Ziploc bag.
Especially with the DEET.
Yeah,
because
especially.
it'll eat anything.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
synthetic.
that's the other thing, is he's saying that anything with DEET, like my Deep Woods Off can or that stuff, if it gets on like a Columbia shirt or like my zip off pants, ask me how I know this, it eats the material. So if you're bringing anything like that, make sure that you put it in a Ziploc, because I've lost a lot of pants that way.
At your glasses.
Yeah, or my glasses. Well, now why do you have to point out all the things?
And with natural, that's just, yeah.
See, this is why I'm telling you we disagree on bug spray. Yep, you book the specialty dining on board. The only people that can do it before, Joan, is like the platinum, I don't know what they call them, but it's always going to be like the captain's circle or the diamond circle on every cruise line. They lock some of those things down that you can only do them ahead of time. Okay. All right. So pop your mics off and let me see if I can answer any other questions for you. Anybody?
Jen, did you record this one?
It's a sports shirt and a tie. Okay.
Yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of peppering you with so many things. I know.
Yes. That's it. No coat.
Yeah. Layers, layers, layers. I promise you, my goal is to have that luggage list to you tomorrow. And again, it's like a universal luggage list. So you'll see the packing list. You can use it for other things, but no guilt, no judgment. If you're going with a bigger suitcase, just know that it's a little more for you to be pushing around, that sort of thing. Remember that they give you all those different names for the bag, like meet me tonight and join me on board. Those kind of things is really only if you have multiple bags going. I know a couple of you had mentioned, maybe I'll do a one extra bag for the two of us and put the stuff that I want to be on the cruise. Because if you do a join me on board bag, remember you can see that in the cruise tour answer booklet. If you decide to do that join me on board bag, that one is going to leave you when we check into the cruise tour and go on to the ship. So if you have things like, well, I was thinking hiking pole stuff, but you're going to want those with you. If you have like big puffy jackets or, hats, gloves, scarf kind of thing, anything that you want to go right onto the ship, like your dressy clothes, you could do another bag and do that. But read the cruise tour answer booklet and it will tell you what types of bags, like how you set it up. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to ask Beth and Barbara to email me those cell phone numbers, because after class, I won't have time to do it and the chat will disappear. So I won't see it in here. So if you wouldn't mind, please just emailing that to me. And that goes for anybody. If there's something that I need to be doing or you want me to check on, that sort of thing, if you can email it for me, then it's sitting in the inbox in the morning for me to hop on it. Yes, Barb.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Oh, okay. I did, I got your invitation and I signed in and everything. So I just didn't get your little note that you just sent out.
The invitation for the group me text, you mean?
Yeah, and I signed in on that. I got your invitation, so you must have had my cell phone number then.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm not sure what's up with that, but if you can put that on that email for me, we can kind of troubleshoot it tomorrow and make sure you're getting it. Now, let me ask you guys, the group me that I put you guys on, the group text, is a one-way communication, right? So that's me getting in touch with you guys. Do you want a group me where you can all talk to each other? Because I do that, usually I can do it on a trip, but it means you're all going to be on it. So if you share pictures, anything you want to do, you can talk back and forth to each other. If there's a few people that want it, I'm still willing to create it. You can just choose not to, but usually I'm gonna put a link to the photos that I take. I always do that. And usually they're good, so you'll like that. But the photos that I take, I give you a link to my Google Drive so you can access those pictures, because if you wait for me to give them to you, you're going to have a few birthdays before I get them to you. So it's just easier if I give you the link and you can just take a look at the pictures. So yeah, it is. I think that the group text with as big as this group is, it would be a little hard to manage. And again, the photos, you know, we can put on the Google Drive. And of course, those of you that are traveling together, y'all can just share your own photos and you don't have to worry about it. So we're going to go with a no for the group me text. Remember that we do have the chat capability through the Princess app, because if we're all on each other's thingy. Okay, Dick says, what's the deadline to get additional tours so they're included in insurance coverage? That would be 2 days prior to, all insurance has to be purchased 2 days prior to departure. So, and I say that because you want to purchase it and it doesn't go active until the very next 24-hour day. And once you depart on your trip, you can't do that anymore. Two changes, two exceptions to that. If you're on your trip, you guys, and you are extending your trip, like a quarantine, like you're going to somebody, you decide you're going to stay. I know a couple of you are doing some after stays and you decide you're going to stay like 2 extra days because of a flight change or something. First call is to the travel insurance to extend your plan. Because remember that while you're on the trip, we can't make any changes to it. The only change that can be made is an extension if you're staying. And you want to do that because you want the coverage to continue until you're back to your home. So it's always when you leave your house to when you arrive back at your house. So deadline to getting it for tours and excursions would be 2 days prior. But I wouldn't recommend waiting that long, Dick, only because like with shore excursions group, you realize it takes like 3 days for them to get the confirmation to you. So I would say a week out, finish up with whatever it is that you need. All right. Okay. Anybody else got anything? Yes, Steffi.
So Ron actually brought up a point. If you choose to do an onboard bag,
Yeah.
and it gets put on board, but in Denali, to get on board, you test positive. How do you get your luggage back?
Yeah, good question. Okay, so one thing they are really good at is they're really good with the baggage. And in your Joy box, you've got those little bag tags, and you can print off any number that you need. But they are pretty good about the bags. So what would end up happening is they would have to, just like the airlines, go back in wherever the holding area is, pull that. It would have to either come back up on the train or the motor coach, that sort of thing. So yeah, it adds a complication to it for sure. And I'm not sure if it was you, but we were talking about also the possibility of, if you guys got separated on a quarantine, one's quarantining or whatever, they're going to give you time to repack a bag to go, you know what I mean? But you might want to consider, if you're flying, that you have half and half. We talked about packing half of one person's, clothes, and we laughed. Whoever I was talking with, we were laughing that I do not want Tom's clothes in my bag because I treat my bag very differently than he treats his bag. But it was just funny because if you have a luggage lost on your trip, it's going to make it easier for you. And again, that's just packing with potentials in mind, and I've never done that, to be honest with you, because I would be totally okay wearing Tom's clothes. So yeah. And he packs my bag anyway, but don't tell him I told you that. Okay, once we complete our COVID test, how does that get uploaded to the Princess app? Great question, Dick. So it does not. Okay, that's actually handed to them. Well, and we hope it's handed to them. So at the start of the cruise tour, the plan is that when we check in with the cruise tour person on July 5, they'll be asking for that. Remember, there's a chance that they won't, because that's a new requirement and they're just trying to figure out how that's going to go. But that one I don't think goes up to the app, and they're doing it for us in Denali. So they'll have records of it there too. Did that answer it, Dick?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. All right. Anybody else? Are you getting excited? Yeah, and I know we're nervous about what about this with COVID? What about this with COVID? I just want to remind you, there is nothing new under the sun here, people. Really, there is nothing. The only difference that we're having that little moment of going, is because we're traveling. That's it. This has been happening and happening and happening all along. Now we're hitting the rubber meets the road where it's our turn to depart and get on this tour that we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. Barb's been waiting 3 years for this trip. So, I mean, and we've been waiting, so we know how that goes. So I know it presents some, you know, trepidation because we're not 100% sure, but it's don't let it steal your joy about this trip. You've waited. We have done our homework. We are planning ahead. We are going as a group. It's going to be okay, you know? And it's funny because even the people that, yeah, none of us want to get it. Cheryl was saying, I just don't want to get it and miss the trip for sure. Which is, you know, Tom's in the service industry. So he's in and out of people's homes the next 2 weeks. And I'm thinking, oh, you know, but how do you stop your life? You don't. So just use your head the best you can and protect yourself as best you can and go from there. Yep, there are bathrooms on the transportation up to Denali on the motor coach. And there are bathrooms on the train going back down to Whittier. So every time we're together, the only time there are not bathrooms on our tour is obviously any excursions that you've booked. But you, the school bus that goes into Denali on the Tundra Wilderness Tour, there is no bathrooms on board, but I'm really, really big on the bathroom thing because you have no idea how huge that is for people. Even if it isn't for you, it really is a big scare for people when they're traveling. The good news is that they stop very often at the ranger stations for the restroom. So rarely are well, the industry standard is 2 hours. So anytime you're on a motor coach ride or anything like that, you'll always see within an hour and a half to 2 hours, but usually industry standard is no one will go longer than 2 hours. So especially with our age demographic. So we kind of give them hell if they do. Yeah, some people say I'm not going to any parties the next 2 weeks. Oh, Wi-Fi, is there Wi-Fi coming and going from Denali? Great question. Motor coach says they have Wi-Fi, but we're heading up into the mountains. And it gets a little spotty on the bus. So yes, there is technically Wi-Fi, but you know, there could always be the one. Bye, Steffi. Good seeing you guys. Bye, Ron. Yeah, there could always be, the bus could not have it. So I wouldn't rely on it too much if you don't need it for work or something. All right. Any last minute questions? On the train, yep, there is Wi-Fi on the train as well, but same situation. It tends to be, I just had a client up there the other day and she would like ask me a question and then we'd give her the answer, or she got a phone call on her voicemail and then she never got it because wherever she was, either on the train or on the motor coach or on the road, she hits those dry spots and she didn't even get the messages. So do not plan on any, even on board, really. Don't plan on any really solid Wi-Fi because I don't think that's physically possible on a cruise ship as far as I know, but they do the best that they can. All right, I've got a really cool train book that I'm going to be bringing. So if we can sit sort of close to each other on the train, I'll make sure to share some of the cool stuff about the stops and things like that. And one more thing I always forget to mention to you, and again, forgive me for this, it makes me excited about an assistant. We have a library of travel resources that is available online by a link. So if you're a book nerd like me and like Dick, that we love to look at all these travel resources. They've either been donated over the years, or I personally have brought in different resources and I have them from all over the world. So I'll share a link with you. If I forget, which is highly probable, somebody sit on me and I will get it out so everybody has a link to it. But even if you're not local, Sweeney's, I know you guys are up north, McGinnis's, it all works the same. You check out the resource for, I usually do a month or 2 because it's a private library. And I send the resource to you. So we do like a priority mailer for $6 or $7, and you keep it for 2 months and just enjoy it and then send it back. So they're not weight sensitive that way. It just costs us our $8 or whatever it is, but you get to just really look at it. And I don't mind if you're highlighting, I'm not that particular about it. It really is for clients to use it and enjoy it. So remind me, because there's so many good, I have videos and all kinds of things, that 21-day Mediterranean trips going out. And I have awesome videos on the Sistine Chapel and the Raphael rooms. And Really cool resources. So, and a lot of books on Alaska, which I wish I had gotten my act together, but I'm bringing half of them with me. So you'll be able to look at them in our private room when we get there. Okay, thanks for your time tonight, guys. I know we ran a little long, but lots to cover. If you need me, email is best, because then I can queue you up and get going with those. Tom and I depart on June 27th, just so you know, which is a week from Monday. And we will be out in Anchorage. Very welcome, Joan. We'll be out in Anchorage with Dawn, and I might send you a few pictures if the group text will allow it. But we'll be out there long ahead of time and getting ready for you guys to come. And I'm so excited. Don't let anything rob your joy, steal your joy. Do not overpack. Lay it out. I'll give you that packing list tomorrow. And I know it'll prompt more questions, so no problem. And the recording for this class will be up within 48 hours, Barb, on the, it'll be up on the trip class page. Just scroll down to the recording library and they're all there. Okay, and I'll get you to that trip class page.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries at all. Okay, Diane, you're showing me some. Oh, did you get your medallion? Yay, hop on and tell us.
Yeah. Oh,
Yep, so let me see. I think Cheryl got hers today too. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, look what just came in the mail.
yeah.
Oh,
We
that's so
got ours too.
cool.
Yeah. Very official.
That's so exciting. Now, did
Yeah.
anybody get like the bougie bracelet or any of those other things that it came with? Yeah, I didn't either. I couldn't get my act together fast enough. So, but that's so fun. I'm so excited about this because I'm kind of
So
a
excited.
technology geek. So I'm really excited about this one. So we'll see, we'll see. Hopefully, and it's not super new to them, so hopefully they've worked out the kinks. But the fact that I don't have to dig, I don't have to spill my wine digging for my room key is a huge highlight for me.
I gotcha.
There you go. All right, guys. Well,
All
have
right.
a great night. I'm here if you need me. Just send me an
Thank
email.
you.
Okay. All right. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.